What we learnt from the final day of F1 testing in Bahrain. After 6 days, 48 hours and over 6,100 laps later, it's all over. Pre-season testing for the 2022 season is finally done. Considering yesterday's drama, all the teams were keen to get plenty of laps on the board, and we've got a nervous 6-day wait until the first FB1 session gets underway. But before that, here are 4 things that caught our attention during the final day of testing. Red Bull's sculpted side pods. Not content with Mercedes side pods getting all the attention, Red Bull debuted a tweaked RB18 featuring their own version of the side podless F1 car. Although not as obvious as the Mercedes side pods, it's interesting to see the divergence between the potential championship rivals. Looking down on the Red Bull, not much looks to have changed, but from the side, spot how the Oracle logo is sculpted inwards. The side pod's undercut now runs further down towards the rear of the car, allowing the airflow from the side of the car to be driven into a Coke bottle area and towards the car's floor. Speaking of the floor, it seems Adrian Newey's preference for increased rake is definitely there. Compared to their rivals on track, the Red Bull's floor is running higher above the ground, with very few sparks coming from underneath it. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves through the season. Hamilton doubts Merc can win races. According to the 7-time champion, things aren't looking too great for the Silver Arrows right now. I literally can't help but laugh. We've already seen them dealing heavily with bouncing on track, although so are pretty much all the teams, but Hamilton doesn't expect he'll be fighting for wins in the team's current form anytime soon. Really? In the day's press conference, he said, "At the moment, I don't think we'll be competing for wins, but there is potential within our car to get us there. We've just got to extract it and fix our problems." People will be surprised maybe. People think we are talking ourselves down, but it's different this year. Yeah, okay. Do you reckon he's telling the truth? Let me know in the comments. McLaren's brake problem. If you saw day 1 and 2's running, you'll know McLaren have got a pretty major issue. They can't stop their brakes from overheating. They flew in some new parts overnight, so you'd think the problem was solved, but it wasn't. Turns out it's only a partial solution, and they're actually going to have to wait until the first race next week to hopefully finally get it sorted. So they may have potentially solved one problem, but they've got another. Who to put in the car if Daniel Ricciardo can't race next weekend? The 8-time race winner tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday and has been forced to miss all of Bahrain testing as a result. He'll be in mandatory isolation until at least Thursday, so McLaren may be forced to call up their reserve driver. However, they don't actually have one of their own, and they're sharing Mercedes reserves Stoffel Vandoorne and Nick de Vries. Unfortunately, ex-McLaren driver Vandoorne and Paul di Resta, who has previously been on standby for the team, are competing in Sebring next week. While de Vries will be available at the track, Alpine have handily offered their own reserve driver to their rivals, F2 champion and fellow Aussie Oscar Piastri. Verstappen leads the way. Dr. Helmut Marko was all smiles down in the Red Bull garage, and it's no surprise why. Max Verstappen ended the final day of testing at the top of the timing sheets. The reigning champion set the fastest time, a 1:30.1.720 on the C5 tyres, despite going for a spin at the final corner whilst preparing for a flying lap a few laps before. Meanwhile, Ferrari were looking good again. Honestly, this is becoming a bit of a recurring theme now, which I'm totally fine with. Charles Leclerc slotted his Ferrari into second on the timing sheets, just over 7/10 down on Verstappen. That was until Mick Schumacher decided to change that again in an evening session in the Haas. In terms of mileage, the honour of the most laps today goes to Williams' Nicholas Latifi, who just pipped Alonso with 124 laps after losing most of yesterday's running to a fire early on. I'd say these testing sessions in both Barcelona and Bahrain have set us up beautifully to start the season next week. There you have it, 4 things we saw from the final day of testing. Come on, tell me, who wins the first race? Let us know in the comment section below.